My name is Ellis Clopton. I'm at the residence of Dr. Mike Barger, a professor of parasitology at Peru State College in southeast Nebraska.
Yeah, I'm a parasitologist. I study the things that infect other things, so worms that infect fishes and turtles and things of this nature, snails, some invertebrates, other invertebrates as well. So I study how they move through the environment, how they get from host to host, what affects their populations, and how they interact with their hosts and other organisms and features of the environment.
Dr. Barger has been teaching at Peru State for well over 15 years, but for him, parasitology goes way back.
It's the thing that captured my attention when I was young and impressionable, right? So I was out at Cedar Point Biological Station when I was 19 years old, and I took a field parasitology course, and Dr. John Janovy Jr. at UNL was teaching it, and he's the one who got me into it because I was in his zoology course the semester before. We went out and collected some fish from the North Platte River at Llewellyn, I think it was, and we dissected them, and their intestines were just filled with all these squirming worms, and that just was totally different for me. I'd never conceived that that could possibly happen.
For some, being a scientist isn't just a job, it's part of who you are as a person, and Mike's colleagues see the scientist in him all the time.
He's driven basically whenever he's not doing something else. He's doing science or he's thinking about science. So he's really working or thinking about working all the time. Science is still a guild discipline. And when I say a guild discipline, what I mean is you learn to be a scientist by working with scientists and by working for senior scientists. It's really still a discipline built on masters and apprentices, masters and mentees. And you know, the best way to be a good mentor is to go to the lab and do your work. People will notice that, and they'll think, you know, some student will think to themselves, you know, I'm not really sure what he's doing, but I want some of that. And so that's how good students become captivated in the orbit of a scientist, and that's how they begin their training. And so they do the same thing. And because Mike's driven, because this is what he does, you know, it's attractive to a lot of students, and they learn by practicing with somebody who's always doing it.
Which seeks to inventory all the biodiversity in a specific area. Mike is currently doing this work out in the Big Thicket, a hotbed of biodiversity in southeastern Texas.
So there's a lot of stuff down there that nobody's ever found before. We don't often think of that either, but in our country, even though we've studied it a lot, there's a lot of stuff still to be found. And so we're describing that as new to science and training students and building a database of everything that occurs in that national preserve. So that's what we've been doing recently. And that's a lot of work, but it's a lot of rewarding work.
In the coming weeks, Mike Barger will return to the Big Thicket for 4 weeks before turning his attention towards Australia for his research lab's next big project. My name is Ellis Clopton, and this is JOMC 160.